Welcome to Wake and Wellness. I'm very excited about the episode today. As we mentioned yesterday, when we did the therapy episode, we said we were going to do a part two of therapy, but the actual topic is microdosing as a form of self therapy. So I'm excited to get into this. I am going to give some of the benefits that I have experienced doing so and that others I've known have gotten from microdosing, as well as the difference from microdosing and normal dosing, and talking a little bit about what microdosing actually is. And then we're gonna go a little bit and use, I love to see what AI has to say about some things. So we're gonna ask AI some of the benefits as well, just in case I missed anything that is also important to me and to anyone else doing it. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's go and dive right into it. So microdosing is when you take a much smaller or a micro dosage of something. So let's say if you were to, instead of eating a larger or a mid-range size of shrooms, let's say instead of a 3.5 or an eighth or something like that, you maybe would just take one stem or one cap or something in comparison. So you're taking a mini dosage of this to still gain the effects, but they're not going to be as outside of your control as they typically would. Someone who has, let's say, taken an eighth of shrooms, let's say they've done it a couple of times, they're still going to experience this strong feeling and sensation or sensations, let's say pulsating, that's happening within, or around us. They're going to be picking up on some sounds, smells, and see some things that are going to possibly be a little bit distorted, but also very possibly very accurate and more authentic to what real life experience is, especially when we talk about as vibration or as energy. So when you microdose, someone who just may have taken that cap or two, especially someone who has, like I said, only done it a few times, has not built up a tolerance, they are going to be able to get some of those euphoric feelings that you may have in terms of, let's say, a sense of unity or connection on a level that is typically beyond our daily experience as individuals. There's some people who are even more connected than some who do take these. So I don't want to say that it's not, as if it's not, possible or even common among certain types of individuals. But that's what microdosing allows you to do. And so it gives you the ability, and it made me think instantly back to my experience from, let's say, doing times of doing a full dosage, or let's just say an eighth being which is a big amount, especially when you're first starting off. You're going to experience some things that are just beyond you. And that's what I was getting into, and I was already running through the train of thought, is that a lot of the experiences that I had back then when I was just learning these things and I was taking these normal or larger dosages were so beyond, that's the best way that I am able to say it, beyond me, even if they were, let's say, simple concepts of something as, let's say, exchange or relationship, that may have worked itself out in different kind of situations for the mind to make sense of, but they were so strong and profound and powerful, and again, beyond my typical ability to conceive of things or to conceptualize things, that obviously I would have no vocabulary for it. Obviously I had no experience for what it felt like having my heart completely open, or walking the antakarana, or communicating with something that was just as or more intelligent as self, or let's say, yeah, source itself more intelligent than, so it's funny because it's like, if you in hindsight, you may say, oh, sometimes I wish maybe I had done like a microdose and then I could have learned how to do such and such, such and such. And I would have remembered and been able to hold that experience but that's thinking on a more intellectual capacity and aspect. And so when I look back, I could see myself thinking that. And as we speak about that right now, but when you truly look at the experiences, some of my best experiences, honestly, were some of my worst experiences. One of the times where I didn't even take that much, they were just very strong, and it was a maybe like a half ace. So maybe it was like a really big one itself, and then another smaller cap and stem, and I had a bad trip. But whenever I look back on it, I look at it as one of my most positive ones because one of my like a fear that my mind would really, I guess, hold on to, which was wild, was Freddy Krueger. And I think part of it was just hideous, skin just like holes in it all. It's like, oh, like your skin's like boiling. It's just everything ugly about it. But then also I think the aspect of being able to enter dreams and this whole dream aspect that was associated with him was very strong to me because I always believed in the power of walking through dreamscapes and the abilities that we have utilizing dreams. So I think that like it was a double down, it was a double jeopardy on this thing that I believe to be so beautiful, but yet it was really in a sense torturing and making the most negative sense of my a strong ability of mine, which is imagination and visualizing. And so he was almost like the negative of that, or the demonic sense or entity of that, the dark side of what was supposed to be beautiful. And so I think maybe I just hated him on all aspects because of that. But I say all of that again to bring back or make the connection that these experiences, any transcendental experience, even when you meditate and you do the same thing and you activate this DMT and you activate these areas in our mind that have been really been docile and been told that it's okay to be in this state after so long from the conditioning that we have accepted and or that we've been thrown into as we have come into the world. So it's powerful because these experiences are going to transcend, as they are transcendental experiences, transcend our normal understanding or our normal feeling of senses. They're gonna make us say, oh my God, I was able to hear. It feels like I was able to hear for the first time or see for this first time, because things do it. It's like the film does get ripped off and the veil does begin to appear. And when we start to see in that way, even as I speak about it, it's as if things, again, you can start seeing that sparkle or this layer behind what is, and it gives a glow to everything. It gives a glow to people's personalities. It gives a glow even to negative tendencies and characteristics. It gives a glow to them to show and shine what they really are reflecting of and what that person really desires. If somebody is just always complaining about lack, it really goes to show and puts the light on they really desire abundance, but yet have given the time or made the connection and the understanding and fostered the relationship with abundance properly so that they can stop cuddling with and really coveting is the word I was looking for, coveting lack. And so it's really beautiful because, again, for these experiences to be so powerful, a lot of times we can come back from them and feel like, oh man, I don't remember this aspect or this, and really we're trying to grasp something, this sense, this intangibility of these experiences, which really remain within us. They remain in ourselves. And so when we give ourselves those flashbacks and we open ourselves to them, we can feel ourselves start transcending that normal, what feels like the mundane. We can start waking ourselves up again by going, oh, I can feel my true reality. I can feel my true self. And that's how it feels when you feel it's something in you doing this and shaking you. And that's yourself calling to yourself of This is what we're here for. This is what we need. We need more of this so that we can go to the world and give more of this. So it can be very easy, or I can see how it's so simple for us to desire once we come out of these, especially after doing it for some time. If you're doing it almost in a scientific way, I could see how the desire can shift over to microdosing as opposed to, let's just say like, oh, let's do the eighth today, because when you're really trying to understand this and as a process, and yourself as a process, and awakening as a process, and an unfolding, you need some things to be stable. You need to know that certain variables are fixed and you don't have to quote unquote worry about those, because everything else that is happening in terms of you it's so unfixed. And it's so funny, again, as I talked about in the therapy episode, or the last episode, and we as we look at shows like Dark Matter, and we think about things like superposition, and our ability to know that there are alternate versions of ourselves that is working a different job, chose a different partner, chose a different way to speak, chose a different country to reside in. When we give thought to that, it's a very it's an awakening kind of feeling. And I don't want to start going off a little bit too much, because I feel myself starting to do so. But that's where it helps to do something like microdosing, when you are really trying to learn yourself. And as I said, I vouch for it as a form of therapy. And in my belief, of course, everyone, you should have fun, you should learn how to enjoy things. But to me, I believe that it's most practical and it's most important, and truly what it is meant to do. It's not something just to take recreationally and just say, today I want to just trip in and just see roses and rainbows and all these things. It's really, if you're really looking for that on the most grand level, and I was gonna say humanitarian type of level, one who is living for life itself, then you do this so that you can go down to those deep, dark depths that you have said, you know what, we just gonna close the door on that. It's to go there, and it's to go there willingly, and it's to go there with this oomph, and this knowing that I have to excavate this, because until we dig up this dirt and remove all these weeds, it's just gonna keep resurfacing in different ways, in ways that we're going to act blind or unconscious to, as if I don't even know where that came from. I don't even know why I got mad or I reacted to this in a certain way. But it's the things that we have not fully confronted. And some of the things that I brought up abandonment issues in the last one for me, like, if I want to keep, as I would say, if I want to keep pump faking and acting like, I don't know where some of these things are coming from, me having an issue with trust, or me not being able to do this or that, it's all stemming from the same place, from the foundation, from the source of. So I need to go down there, I need to uproot that, and then I need to say, what do we really want to plant? I talked about the reason of having a therapist in the last one, and I formed the metaphor, which I really love, and I'm sticking with it now, a master gardener, and having someone there to help you become a master at gardening, and helping you reinvent your space, reinvent the space within. Because truth be told, I'm thinking about Elena Perez, I believe. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but she has one of the most beautiful albums. And I don't know why I can see the cover, but I'm losing the name of it. But one of the lines is, did you know that there's a universe inside of you? And as she really speaks, if you really meditate to this song, you can see how she is one who knows thyself, and she knows that the inside is the creation space. And from there, she's creating. And if you're able to build that relationship, like I mentioned earlier, about the person between abundance and lack and how they are relating to one of those things, if you can build a relation to what I just mentioned in her song, you start to see we are the creators, and you start to see from a space within, and you don't need to do something like psychedelics or anything else like that. They may help. They're gonna help open you up if you're already willing, but doing things like meditating will also help you see, again, as I keep mentioning, how we are creating from this space within, how we are creating from our vision. These things aren't just falling out of the sky, they are coming from an emission of something, and that is the vibration that we are putting out. The vision that I am holding right now is so potent, and it's giving me this stream, which is the inspiration or inspiru, which is really bringing up. And that's why I say I may have a couple bullet points. I didn't really. I just started and I knew, because this is something that inspires me. And I've been reading The Master Key again, and it talks about memory and being able to remember things and being able to recite them more easily and being able to master things more easily when we have an interest in them. So that's what's really happening right now. And again, so many different places I want to take it. But again, I mentioned it being easier to retain these things doing something like a microdose, because you aren't so far out in the sense of, when you, I just mentioned a mission, when you are in a state true openness and you take one of these, what I like to think as a remedy and something that allows you to heal and cleanse yourself, you become an emission. And you start emitting things, just like the satellites that we see. It's nothing that we're creating that is not replicating life. The closer or the better that we create something, the more close that it replicates life. So same way that satellites do, we do the same thing. So you take maybe one cap, you may go, okay, I'm sending out something. It's a pretty strong signal, and I'm aware of it. You do 3, 5, you may say, oh my God, all right, I may be sending them all the way out to Australia right now, and it's just as simple as it is, because that's how open you are. And just as equally as you are sending out, then you are also open for and a receptor and taking in all these things. And so for beginners, it's very difficult. It's like you opened up like a Pandora's box, where you go, oh my God, I have no control now on what's coming in and what's going out. And typically that's where people have the issue with retaining, because now our emotional bodies are just everywhere and we're reacting to them, responding. We're seeing them for the first time clearly. We're seeing our higher selves act upon us, calling us to us stepping within. You're like, wait, what is all of this happening? We're seeing the mind, we're working within the mind. We are also, you may be traveling within chakras and seeing some open up. You may be seeing why some are closed. You may be talking to ancestors. You may be talking to ascended masters. You may be doing all of these things at this one moment. You may be having a life review. Any one of those things by themselves is ample enough to make somebody go, whoa. If you're not open enough, you may just think instantly that you've gone crazy. If you have not had any experience or heard any of this kind of stuff, you may think you're going crazy. Any of these kind of things could make you feel that you are just way outside of the ballpark that you're used to, and some stuff may be going on with you. And so that's why, again, microdosing, as I bring it back in, microdosing is a much, I don't want to say better, but much more manageable form for people who typically have done a lot. So now they have an idea of what can happen, and now they have an idea of what they are actually seeking and what leads people over to. But this is to bridge the gap between people that have done that and been doing it for some time and understand their mind, understand their hearts, understand the way that they relate to the world and all those things. Then this is also for some people that have just been hearing, oh, okay, this is like a key word going out, microdosing. Now everybody's doing it, but they're just, again, when everybody's doing it, people are just doing it because everybody's doing it. And so this is for people that are actually, like I said, with therapy. Therapy is not for people with problems. Therapy is for people who are seeking solutions. And that is the same, and that's the vibe and the introduction that I want to give to you guys when we are talking about microdosing. And that's the vibe that I want to bring into microdosing as a form of self-therapy. No different than sound healing using a sound bowl, no different than hypnotherapy. All of these things or all of these practices and techniques are giving you ways, creating portals into an aspect of yourself that you can identify with that goes beyond the small structure or the, let's say, I'm gonna call it an inner matrix, although it's not the real inner matrix. But in a sense, it is when we relate it to, when we talk about ego, and then we talk about, if we wanna talk about super ego, id, and in relation to the higher self. So I'm gonna call that the inner matrix. But once we're able to get outside of that one and see ourselves in relation to life, what is our connection to life? If we're doing the sound bowl and at some point you detach from your mind and you realize, anybody that's had this experience will know exactly what I mean, and many of us have had it in feeling, but just have not had the words. Just as I mentioned, when we have these transcendental experiences, this is the same exact thing, on let's say mushrooms or something, and it's beyond our ability to give words to. We have yet to find a construct that fits what happened. And so it's the same thing in this. It's like your mind is now here, and you go, wait, but I'm everywhere else, and that's all that your awareness is, and you understand that, then you go, wow, okay. And of course, the portal or the medium that we have chosen to do this on is sound or vibration via chakra bowl. So now that this is happening, you're starting to understand your space, yourself in relation to life, or in that relation, making sense of itself is space, and that sound moving through space, and that is your relation. And so I'm trying my best to use words to make sense of this. But again, anyone who has had this experience knows exactly what I mean. And it is the same across any of these techniques. Again, whether you're just meditating, you're using the chakra bowl, you're utilizing psilocybin or DMT or any kind of agent to activate your mind. And any of these modes, you're finding a portal that, again, allows us to identify with the real self, with the inner self, which goes far beyond the ego, because the ego is something that was created by us exactly to show or to create an identity. But again, I could go further and talk about why that's the prodigal son, then the prodigal son realizes, oh wow. In a sense, you think in some way that you're the center of the universe, because that's how identity makes us feel. Like obviously it's me, so it's my perspective, this is my world, obviously, until you realize that you are actually connected in, and there is no without what I'm about to say, the I am, or self. Or when I talk about self, it's really, when I say Atman, it's life itself. And you go, oh my gosh, wow, all right. I was pretty stupid, but I had to return so that I can understand what that means. And so that's what microdose gives us the ability to do a little bit better than just jumping into the deep end and then coming back like, oh man, I did almost, like in this metaphor, I technically almost died because it was just so much water. I hadn't learned how to navigate this side of the pool, as opposed to jumping in the shallow end. You have more of a chance to choose when you touch the bottom and come back up. You have more control. And so in that, it makes you feel it a little bit more safe. But what I will say is those who have gone in the deep end have touched some parts that those who always vouch for and who always want to only stay on the shallow side are not going to experience, because they've touched a depth that you can only get by diving all the way in. And so that is some of the pros and cons of microdosing versus going the, let's say, the full way. And I've given some of my benefits and what I think is important in doing microdosing. Again, I take it just as therapy. You're looking for emotional regulation. You're looking to make sure you know the things that typically, and this is a great way to be able to tell progress, things that typically tick you off and take you to a place of, oh, or and start tensing up, or whatever that is for you. That may also be awkwardness or anxiety or anything that makes you shrink. Even though you may feel anger makes you expand, those things that are making your ability to love shrink, when you have a stronger capacity to deal with those, that's when you know that's a real measure of growth. When you can see, wow, and that's a part of self-control. We're talking about mastery. We're talking about becoming a master gardener. That's my thing now, that we're always gonna talk about that and working on our garden. And so when you start to learn, like, you may have got mad when you seen weeds first pop up. You're like, all this tending to this garden that I've been doing, and you may have been doing a terrible job at tending, by the way. But but now you say that's a part of gardening. Of course they're gonna sprout up. Of course, if I was any kind of flower, if I was a weed, I want to be in this garden too. That's how you want to really start to look at yourself, your garden. You want to start to go, man, I remember when so-and-so, somebody drove up by me and tried to act like they was trying to race me, or if somebody drove up and then cut me off, or if somebody drove up, gave me a finger, or in the most extreme cases. And it's so loud when I say this because this was the truth, but I opened myself to a crazy place time ago. And I was just so in love with life that nothing could get me there. And I think I brought this up a few times, but once, and all my friends, we were outside just doing our thing, and somebody drove past, and I was at school, at college, and they drove past and hit me with the N-word. And like I said, one of my Asian friend, he got so much more offended than me, was about to chase down the car and everything, picked up a rock, and I was like, hey, be cool, because I was laughing because at first it was what I thought I heard. It's almost how Dave Chappelle said, like, when you hear something so racist, you like, hold on, let me triple check, And so I was all ready, but then it registered like they had to, because it felt like hate, like it felt like they were trying to. But I was just laughing because I was like, they were trying to get to me and nothing was able to. I was like, that's really the test, when you really try to come at my existence as a human. And so many of us identify, obviously, with our race as a part of who we are, because that's such a strong thing in the ego, where we were born, all those things. And so it was just wild to me, because that let me know, I was like, wow, the armor of source, of life, of love, when you really have it, all the arrows, all the bullets, all that stuff bounces off, and you realize that none of the poison can get in. That's really where you want to be, just radiating that love. Like, and that's not me saying that you don't need to check people and let people know when they off, all those things. But what I am saying is when you're in this state, you are going to truly be invincible in a way that nothing will be taken to heart. Nothing will be taken to heart. Like, that's almost as best as I can say it in the negative way. You're going to be able to see the positive in everything. As in that scenario, I was just like, wow, I'm good. Like, source God got me good. Like, we're good. So it's powerful. And again, that is the goal. I mentioned emotional regulation. You want the same thing about the mind. All we are talking about is control, mastery, bringing yourself in a place, soul control, soul alignment, aligning all these things with your highest self and the highest good. So you understand that you are in the control seat, and it doesn't matter if your emotions flare up. It doesn't matter if nostalgia tries to take you back to a place or shift you out of your gear. You go, my soul is in control, and I am in the seat of my soul. The ego is subservient to that, and my heart is only in alignment with good. And you know that. So there's nothing else that we even need to talk about. And so there's nothing else to even talk about. And that's such a beautiful, like, if I can help you all get to that space, that's all we're here for. Like, I talk about the Antakarana, which is the path to, and I've been on that for so long, and really realizing it, trying to materialize it as much as possible, because I used to think like, oh, I was thinking something that wasn't present was present, even though I knew it was present, but I had no books, or I had no mentor, I had nothing to tell me that this thing is real. So like, I've been stuck on the Antakarana, and I know that's part of my dharma to help others understand the Antakarana. But even more so, it's what happens when you walk that path to the self, and the elation that you get when you do meet that self. You walk into that self, you embody that self. And that's, if I could get you guys to even just experience it the one time and go, okay, we good. That is my current goal right now. And so as I speak more about these things, I want us to remember that these are real places. These are real states of being. These are real. It's real. And no matter what it may sound like, I may reference this show, this kiddie show, which may deter you from thinking that it's real because it was in a cartoon, but the show is talking about all real things. So if they're talking about chakras, which to align those, you have to get rid of, let's say, greed. You have to be giving all these certain things, or to get rid of fear, get rid of shame, get rid of all these things. Why are we thinking that the best part of them are not real? They are the most real, and that's the whole point of all the stuff, is to get to the best of the stuff, so that we can feel as amazing as we are meant to, as we are called to, because we all have a calling. And if we're not working towards our purpose, then what the hell are we working towards? We're creating a personal hell for no reason. And so again, I said, what is the purpose of us doing these things? Again, we're supposed to have fun. And I think these are going to help us have the most fun that we are meant, because they're going to help us live uninhibited. They're going to help us live our greatest joy and most authentic self, which all of us want. It's not one person in the world that I believe, or that could stand up with a pure and true heart and saying, I don't want to be my best self. I don't want to be my authentic self. Even if that means like you are doing some wild-ish, like, I don't think there's one person, or even if someone wants to do some negative things, I don't think that even that person would say that they want to inauthentically do the stuff that they're doing. So all of us want to live authentically. All of us want to reach the pinnacle of what it is that we believe which is at the center of our volition, which is at the center of what we identify with ourselves and what we're meant to, what we were put here to do and work out. So that's what we're here to do. And that's the goal to me when we take these, what are meant to be remedies, which are meant to help us materialize the shadow aspects of ourselves so we can actually get to the light. Not just take these things and think, oh, the sun's gonna come out and the clouds are gonna talk to me and the birds are just there to, like, no, those things it can go down like that, yes, but you have to be willing to do the excavation. You have to be willing to clear out the things that you have not wanted to address. And so we're gonna go into the GPT a little bit, AI, and ask it, what are, here, we're gonna ask it, what are some, acting a little crazy, what are some of the benefits of microdosing? And then we're gonna be a little bit more specific, but we're gonna see what it says. The practice of taking small, oh yeah, they did it quick. Microdosing, the practice of taking small subperceptual doses of psychedelics like LSD or psilocybin mushrooms has been reported to have several potential benefits. Some of these include increased creativity, improved mood, enhanced focus and concentration, and a greater sense of well-being. That's why, I'm not gonna lie, AI, it does this thing. It's great at summarizing and bringing those things, because those are all the things that we've hit on, but it was able to just, and that's everything that we were looking for. Creativity, improved mood, and this is not something, it's important to me to bring up, this is not something that you rely on. It's not something, no matter the frequency of your usage, whether you used it once in a month or a year, or if you're using it, let's say, twice every day. Like, I don't care, whatever the usage is, not something to rely on in the sense of going, oh, well, if I don't use it, my mood's gonna go down, or things aren't gonna be as fun and bright. The goal of utilizing it is to bring yourself to a state to where you understand that you are the creator of any movement, motion. So if you want to see that happiness, make that happiness, and that thing will only enhance it. But do not look at this thing to give you access to things in some way, again, as if it's external. It is meant to help you realize the potential of self so that you can, instead of just seeing it as potential, we start to bring it to life. That's very important that I bring up. Enhanced focus, which is just as important, concentration. We are being students of concentration. I realize that is key in opening the master key in this realization. You have to learn focus. You have to learn how to be able to bring our attention to one specific place and then say, okay, I am going to utilize it like this or like this or like this, having a purpose and intentionality. All of this, again, plays into, as I mentioned in the first therapy episode, this puzzle piece or this roadmap, which essentially is us. And that same thing in realization gives us the actual view of, oh my gosh, I am it, I am connected, I am life, I am. And we understand the importance of that statement. And from there, create the lives that we desire, and we create the world that we believe is worth living in. Additionally, some people report reduced anxiety and depression symptoms, as well as increased mindfulness and spiritual awareness. All of these things are just as important as the last one. And I also was doing and utilizing it for that reduced anxiety, depression symptoms, though that ability to, it almost literally, we see those commercials as the cloud coming back. It literally does give you the ability. It does move it to the side. Now, what I say, and the reason why I emphasize it so much is the allowing portion. The will plays such an important part in this, and it actually is everything. And as I mentioned in the Apple TV show Dark Matter, and when you're in superposition and all these factors or variables, as I mentioned, such as the subconscious, such as your emotions. The will is, when I keep saying that you have to be willing, you have to be open, that is a choice of your will. That you, only you. And that's why all these shows they show when they're doing spells and all this, people have to be willing because it's your choice. And that is the gift that we have been given. That's the present that's what the present really is a choice. It's the now that we say, I am a part of, and I will be a willing co-creator with. And from there, anything is possible. And so it is the will that we must utilize to keep the cloud away. We must understand that it is the will that allows us to realize or be more aware. After I just said that, I was more aware of that. And then as I keep doing that, I am. We must make the choice. And I can't emphasize anymore how important that is or what that really means than I've done already. As well as increased mindfulness and spiritual awareness. I just went through those as well. However, it's essential to approach microdosing with caution and consult with a healthcare professional due to its potential risk and legal status in many places. Both of those, that's also very good information as well. It is something, again, you need to be cautious about. You need to know many of us have so many different health factors that can make many different things a risk, and we don't really understand, again, the potential risk. And so we need to, and you should consult someone who is a lot more mindful, especially someone who is more understanding of your, let's say, health and family health. And I'm thinking about like your ancestry and things like that, because things can happen if you are not cautious. People typically overdo things, and a lot of times people are not that willing aspect. I can't hit on it more anymore. If you're not open and willing to show yourself some things, these things give you the ability to do so. And if you keep trying to push them away, what happens is you keep focusing on them and you manifest that which you think you don't want to bring forth. So our biggest fear is, like I said, my friend turned into Freddy Krueger right on the couch with me, so I was trying to push it away. And then I told him, and then he said something, and it really scared me. But from that point on, I don't have that fear any longer. And I had a much stronger mind and resistance to that which I fear. So again, there's a lot that goes into it. And I was gonna ask it a little bit more, but to be honest, I think that we've covered exactly what I thought was most important, and they did a good job summarizing that. So we've gone over microdosing, what it is, the benefits of it, and what it allows us to do as opposed to taking it in larger doses. So I think we are going to do an episode, a part 2 of this, of microdosing as a self-therapy. But I'm loving where we're at right now. I hope you guys really enjoyed the episode. Health is wealth. Until next time.